So welcome back to the Tackle King fishing channel. I wasn't planning on making a video this quick, but I've had a few emails and a few messages, or two or three, from disabled people asking about where some good places are to fish on the River Usk in Newport. Now, of course, in a few weeks the close season comes in about on fresh waters, and with the cost of living crisis, not everybody's going to be able to afford to go out to commercial fisheries. So tidal fishing is a really good option for people to carry on fishing. But regarding people in wheelchairs or with mobility issues, there's not a great many places along the River Usk in Newport, but there are some, depending on how robust your wheelchair is as to how you can go across rough ground. There's also some really couple of places where you don't need to, it's not an issue, it's paved areas and very easy to fish from. So I'm going to start off in Shaftesbury Park. There's maybe half a dozen fishing marks along the River Usk. I'd say 3 or 4 of those are accessible with in a wheelchair or mobility scooter. Depending on how robust they are. You know, if you've got an off-road wheelchair, you'll get across it no problem. It's just a little bit rough and a little bit of undulation, but nothing too major. So there's about 3, maybe 4 fishing marks in Shaftesbury Park suitable for wheelchairs. Parking is not too bad. Parking Pugsley Road. It's not residential. I did check as I pedalled up. I came up on the e-bike. Glorious spring day today, so it's nice sunny, blue skies, although still a bit chilly. But Pugsley Road has no parking restrictions, so you're not okay for parking up there. Access from Pugsley Road fairly straightforward on a footpath around the park up to the riverbank, and then it's just that last maybe 10-15 foot on the grass, which might get a little bit rough for you to fish from. But let's have a look at some of the locations on Shaftesbury Park to start with. Okay, so most of the fishing marks are down the bottom end of Shaftesbury Park. This is probably the best location. It's only got a few feet to get to the river's edge, but it's really only fishable on the very high tide. But as you can see, it's mainly just mud down there. There's very little to snag up on. And the same with the fishing marks, you'll get about 3-4 of them fairly close together. So this is your typical sort of fishing mark down Shaftesbury Park, down at the bottom end. You got a little bit of a dip there. There's some areas here which are a bit flatter, but there's some shrub roots and the like, so you've got to watch out for those. But as long as your wheelchair or buggy is reasonable, you should be able to get down to 3 or 4 of the marks, and they'll take you to quite nice fishing locations. So just have a come down. That's a path. It's reasonably good all the way from Pugsley Road, which is way over. Okay, so this is another main area that you can fish from. Quite level ground across there. Quite a nice range. You can see somebody's fishing down there on that little patch. Fairly flat, but it's quite surprised really that the park is so quiet. I mean, this is a Sunday morning, but it doesn't seem to be any sort of Sunday morning league or junior league football or anything. But there you go, a really nice place and relatively okay for fishing if you've got a fairly decent wheelchair or buggy that can take on a little bit of. Okay, so that's our first location, Shaftesbury Park. I'm not sure how late the gates are kept unlocked. So I'll check up on that before you head down here for some night fishing, or you might get locked in overnight. Parking is really, really good. No parking restrictions, and you're fine, and a good solid path all the way up to the fishing locations. So let's head down to our next location, which is on the River Walkway in Newport Town Centre. Okay, so now I'm on the River Walkway by the red work of art. I've lived in Newport for about 4 years and I've never seen anybody fish from here, but I've been told that people do. But it is quite snaggy down there. There's quite a lot of junk thrown in the river. Okay, so this is the second location where I've actually seen people fishing down here, mainly at night time, and that's because of the proximity to the car park. So you've got a nice path down here. I've seen people fishing a few times over the last 4 years. Good bottom, mainly mud, very little to snag on. So good location, especially if you've got a camper van. I mean, I've seen people come out, set their rods up, then go and sit in the car or the van and have a cup of tea. Probably not the best of locations during the daytime because this is a real busy part of the river walkway because you're right in the centre of town and you will disturb quite a lot of people trying to cast in out. But otherwise than that, if you come down for an evening's fishing, very accessible, good place for disabled. Okay, so let's head down to the final couple of places on the river walkway, which is ideal for fishing if you're disabled and in a wheelchair. Not too far down, quite a long walk, but there is local parking. I'll check the parking restrictions, but if it is residence parking, if you've got a blue badge, the policy of Newport City Council is that it's unlimited parking for blue badge holders. So it's not like London or Birmingham where they have timing restrictions. You can park all day with a blue badge. But let's head down there. It's down by the Octopus Bar. A couple of little rest areas which are just out into River Usk. We're fished quite regularly by people. I've fished down there myself. It's a nice location. Probably not the best place, but if you're in a wheelchair, you are restricted. So let's head down there and see what it's like. Okay, this is the first of the two remaining fishing locations for people who are disabled. The road is just behind those flats there. There is parking restrictions of 2 hours Monday to Saturday during the day. I'm not sure what the restrictions are for blue badge holders, whether you can stay longer. But if you have only 2 hours, you might have a problem. But you come off the walkway just there. There's a footpath just there down to the car parking. And it's quite a nice big area to catch fish. I've come down here fishing before and it's quite nice, relatively snag free. There's a second platform over there, fairly quiet, not too bad at all. I wouldn't fish here on a night on my own though. If you want to come out night fishing, make sure you come with a couple of friends just for your own safety. It's not the best of areas, shall we say, and these do attract the more colourful characters. You know, look out for syringes and broken bottles and stuff like that. But during the day, great place to come fishing. Probably best on a high tide. But let's go down and have another look at the next one down. But as you can see, really good place for people in wheelchairs. Right, so this is the second place along the walkway, just a short distance from that first platform out. Again, it's very good for wheelchairs, mobility scooters and like. And if you look down, you can see it's mainly mud. Few branches, few twigs, few bits of rubble. But generally, it's snag free. It's not too bad at all for fishing out from here either. Now, the road on the other side of these flats is East Dock Street. Just over the other side of those flats there, East Dock Street. There's lots of little alleyways that people can come down in wheelchairs and mobility scooters. Relatively quiet. I mean, this is half term and a Sunday, so you've got a few kids around, but not too bad. East Dock Street does have parking restrictions Monday to Saturday during the day from 8 till 6 of 2 hours. Now, I'm fairly sure, but you'll have to check yourself, if you're a blue badge holder, I think you can park for as long as you want. It's not a residence parking restrictions, it is timed parking restrictions. So I'm not so sure what that is for blue badge holders. But those are the main areas for fishing along the River Usk in Newport if you've got mobility issues or you're in a wheelchair or mobility scooter or something like that. There used to be one more, which I'll try and show as much as I can, which we can't get access to at the moment. But let's just go down a little bit further and have a chat about that, the final one, which was quite a regular place for people to fish from particularly if you had wheelchairs. So let's go down to that location, which is now closed. Yeah, I can't actually get down to this final place where people used to fish, particularly if you was in a wheelchair. It's actually, because they've closed off the entire footpath down there, it's pretty much underneath the Transporter Bridge. It's where the old Transporter Bridge Visitor Centre used to be, and they've now closed that area off because they're building a brand new visitor centre. There used to be a little platform you could fish off, and it was right next to the car park, and it was ideal if you was in a wheelchair. And I've seen quite a lot of people fishing off that location. It's now closed. Whether or not you can actually get down there once the work's been completed and the new visitor centre's opened, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But the problem is, most of the best places for fishing on the Usk, this is a great location. You just can't get down there on a wheelchair. But we'll have a chat about that in just a few minutes. Okay, so that's it. Those are locations along the River Usk in Newport, which is suitable for fishing from if you're in a wheelchair or have mobility issues. There's not a big selection. Personally, I wouldn't worry too much about the walkway in the town city centre itself. Those two by the car park and the bridge, I wouldn't worry too much about those. If your wheelchair is capable of a little bit of off-roading and a little bit of rough ground, not a great deal of rough ground, and Shaftesbury Park's a good one, but you are very far up the river, upstream from here, and you won't get the fish numbers, or maybe not even the range of species. The best place for me, I think, is the two platforms just off East Stock Street. Now, I've fished there regular. I know other people have fished here regular, and we've caught fish, so it's a good location. I've had flounder and conger eel off here, and I know other people have had whiting and other species, including trout, sea trout from here. So these two platforms are quite good, very easy to get to. You just got to check your blue badge and parking abilities. It is timed restrictions to 2 hours, no good for fishing, but if your blue badge lets you stay longer, then it's a real option. There are a lot of places along River Usk in Newport which you can fish from and which are quite good. They're just not accessible. And this is why I'm in the process of trying to set up a group in Newport where we can sort of register either as a charity or a community investment company and taking on the management of some of the riverbank. And that will then allow us to put in bids and applications for grants to put in disabled accessible ramps, paths and fishing platforms. That's something I'm hoping to get up and running if I can find enough people to join in and form a board or a management committee, and that'll allow us then to progress to the next part of it. So if you're interested, drop a mail, drop a message, or send an email, kevin@tackleking.co.uk, and hopefully we can get some really nice accessible fishing locations on the River Usk in Newport. I mean, at the moment, in the short term, we've got the close season coming up in a couple of weeks. You've got people who are struggling with the cost of living crisis. Tidal fishing is a great opportunity to get out there fishing with limited costs. So if you can't afford to go to the commercial fisheries and lakes, and if you're not already a member, a lot of membership fishing clubs are closed because they're oversubscribed. Then tidal fishing is the way, and there are a couple of locations in Newport, but not a great deal. But until next time, tight lines.